everyone, here I am again, Bernie Wall, to do some more videos about reading. I'm kind of sticking with reading at the moment because I tend to get a lot of requests about reading, and most people seem to want to find out more about how to improve their reading. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my system, which I know I've mentioned before, and I've kind of given it a funny name, which is, it's actually 3 S's, SSS. So it's a little bit like a snake, and in a way it is like a snake, because if you do it smoothly like a snake, then you'll be able to glide through it quite quickly. So that's what I'm hoping that this will help you to do. And I'm really pleased that a couple of people recently have told me that by using the techniques that I'm teaching in these videos, and also in the other work that I do, they are getting some really nice scores of 7.5, 8, 8.5. And so I'm really pleased that that's happening for those people, and I hope that it's going to happen for you too. And I know from my own experience in over 20 years of teaching IELTS that by using these techniques, slip of the tongue, that they really do work, and most of my students get at least 7.5 in their reading. So without any more ado, I'm going to move to the slideshow that I've prepared for you. If you want to connect with me outside of YouTube, you can do that by going to my website, IELTSlearningtips.com, and there you will find not only some free resources, but also there are a few videos. There is someone reading, someone writing, and also you can sign up for my newsletter, which comes out every week, and I also send out other emails about things that are going on and ways in which you can get more information or coaching, whatever it is you're looking for. And the other place is my Facebook group, where I also put on a few tips and information on IELTS, and I've done a couple of lives already and planning more. So that's Band 7 and 8 Success Network, and the information and links for that are at the end of the PowerPoint and also underneath this video. So let me share this system with you. I'm sure you're all waiting with bated breath, and here we go. So the 3 S's. I love S sounds actually. So how to improve your reading process. So it's very easy, very simple. The first one is keep it simple. So many students complicate the reading, and it's not necessary. Keep it simple. And the second thing is be systematic. This is also true for writing as well. Well, in fact, for everything, if I'm honest. And the final thing is successful. So keep it simple, be systematic, and you will be successful for sure. Right, so let's look at what does simple mean. No tricks, no shortcuts, no magic formula, no silver bullet. Just do it step by step through the questions. Okay, look at the main title, look at the subtitle. By then you should have a really good idea of what the topic is about, and then that means that you won't really need to read any more of the text before you start looking at questions. But if you have any doubts, then just skim the first paragraph. But generally speaking, in the current readings, there is enough information in the title and subtitle to give you a good overview. Right, so then you know what the topic is. Go on to the first question. Now, I always do the questions one by one. I'm always a bit worried if you jump around that you might put your answer in the wrong place, which would be a disaster. So I always go one by one. I always do the passages one by one, starting with passage 1 and finishing with passage 3, because I think it's good to get the easier one under your belt, and that gives you a bit more motivation and a little bit more confidence for the others. However, having said that, I do know that there are some students who do it differently, and I'm not going to argue with that if it works for them. That's the key. Does it work for you? And never, 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 never do something in the exam that you haven't practiced. So that would be my rule. Don't do it if you haven't practiced it. And if you think it might work, then practice it, see how it goes. And if it works, then fine. If it doesn't, then go back to your previous system or to this step-by-step system. Okay, so keywords. You should have one, maybe more than one actually, for the location. And you know what these are: numbers, dates, names, any titles, any unusual words. They will usually get you the location. And then the other keywords, and I would say you should have at least 3 and possibly even 4, will help you to find the answer. Okay. So then take your location word or words and find the place in the text. And then read the whole sentence. If your words are in the middle of the sentence, go back to the beginning of the sentence, read the whole sentence carefully. This is the only careful reading that you need to do. Reading the question and reading the corresponding place in the text. The rest of the text you won't need to bother reading carefully. Pick the answer. If your technique is strong, if you've got good keywords, if you're in the right place, the answer should be clear. If you're not in the right place or you can't find the answer, then there are other things that you need to do, which we'll come to. Once you've got the answer, move to the next question. If you can't find the answer, then I suggest that you leave it, move on, come back later, because it's quite important, as you know, that you manage your time. Okay, so that's the simple process. Here's the systematic. That means no games, no jumping, no floundering, no leaping about in the text. Go step by step. So start with passage 1. As I said before, it should be easier and it will give you confidence. If you want to finish it in 20 minutes, if you finish it in 20 minutes, then you've done a third of the test. So that means something. Okay? If you do it starting with number 1, you won't get the questions in the wrong place. And it's logical. It is much more logical to start with number 1 and then go on than it is to start in the middle and go around in circles. Okay. So once you have this process and you're working systematically, you won't have time to panic. You won't have an opportunity to panic either. So it's quite important that you follow a process that's not going to allow you to get into a state. And then gradually, once you've practiced it a lot, you'll see that there's plenty of time. Okay? And that also will keep you calm. So, you know, if you can't find the answer, okay, fine, I'm going to leave it. I'll go on to the next one. And then when I finish these 4 or 5 questions in the yes, no, not given section or the matching section, then I'll go back and look at that one again. So don't be afraid. A lot of students are quite frightened about leaving a question. Don't worry. It's unlikely you're going to get 100% correct. Okay, even with band 8, even with band 9, you're allowed 1 mistake, maybe 2 mistakes in academic, I think. But anyway, you're not going to get all of them right. So if you miss one, it's not the end of the world. But it is the end of the world if you get to the end of the test and you still have 6 questions to do. That's far more the end of the world than missing 1 question. So think about that. Okay? And if you're systematic and you follow a process like this, you won't be afraid to come back later. You'll be quite confident that you can leave it and come back. And the other thing is that I find with a lot of students, once they are more relaxed about the reading, they actually find the readings quite interesting. And they start to enjoy doing the reading. I've had some students that couldn't wait for me to send them a new reading because they wanted to test themselves and see if they could improve their score. And then you're kind of in this competition, if you like, with yourself to try and get higher. Okay, and successful, of course, you will be. this will be the result. You will do better, get a higher score, and be more confident about what you're doing. So once the answers pop out and you see them all the time, you know that you've turned a corner, and then you can only go upwards. You won't need to spend so much time on the reading, because you'll be getting every test that you practice will get the same result. Now, that doesn't mean stop doing reading, because there is also the other side of this coin, where if you leave it and you decide, I've done this now, so I'm not going to practice, it will decline, because that's how language works. If you speak, I spent 10 years in Indonesia, and I spoke Indonesian very fluently. I actually used to lecture at the university in Indonesian. But now, sometimes, even very simple words, I can't recall, because it's a long time since I've used it. So language does that. If you don't use it, you lose it. So it's vital that you keep practicing up to your exam, but you maybe won't need to do it quite so often. Okay, and you know, even in the exam, if you get a particularly difficult reading, if you're hitting these high scores, you'll still be successful. You'll still get your 7. So, you know, you need to really work on this strong technique, so that when you're in the exam, even with the atmosphere of the exam, the nerves, etc., you can still pull out a high band in your reading. Okay, so of course, like everything, keep practicing. And these are the 2 things I mentioned earlier, Facebook group and also my website. But there are links below the video that you can follow. So I hope that that is helpful, and just be systematic and don't do any of those silly things that causes you to waste time and miss the answers. So thank you for watching, and I'll be back with another video very soon.